all of your life you could have been told by society, by your parents, by people around you that there are some things that matter, and only know about those things, and maybe they do matter on a social level, let's say, but you are not really told about other things that could have meaning for you and that could also make your life meaningful. And I think this is what the podcast could bring in people's life. Information about new things that could matter and new pathways that you could go on and search for. So, Julius, this is the description of our podcast, How to Get Old. The Soulmancers has put together a special team to discuss the elixir of youth. Magic, medicine, philosophy, psychology, fitness, spirituality, and making money. Entering the once-in-a-lifetime dialogue on how to successfully get old in life. Could you put this description in ChatGPT and let's see what it generates?
So what do you want me to ask it to do?
Maybe let's see what ChatGPT thinks about our audience. What would be a suited audience for us?
So what I noticed is that with this new AI tech, you have to actually find a way to talk to it so that it can talk back to you and give you the results which you desire. Same thing goes with humans. Sometimes not.
That's why AI should be an advanced type of human, right?
More like a basic one, but humanity at the moment
is under
it's
basic.
way below that threshold. So I'll ask him, please describe our target audience. This is the description of a YouTube, right? We're on
YouTube podcast.
So we have 6 questions, and one of them is, who are we addressing to on this podcast?
So the thing is, we all get old. It's an inevitable fact of life. And when we are young, we are full of illusions. We think we can do it all. We can become famous, rich, very beautiful, and have social success. But what if at some point in life you realize that time is passing by and all of this could be far from happening? Our podcast is addressing to people who are willing to embrace the fact that even if they don't reach that level of success that I was talking about, they can still get old in a very beautiful and graceful way. So we want to make this podcast a podcast about how to make this a better process, like how to age in all aspects, like physically, spiritually, emotionally, in a balanced and healthy and at the same time fulfilling way. So the idea is you can be a fulfilled person even if you don't become like the richest, the most successful, the most beautiful, the most famous person in the world. Our podcast is for normal people as we are, trying their best.
So these are the ones we actually want to reach out to, not the high performers, not the self-individualists who say that they are the best. We are trying to actually reach to the normal individual who...
I think it is for everyone because, as I said, this is a problem that we all have. It's not something special. You can be the richest person on the planet or the best athlete, or you can just be a medium person. You will still age. Time passes by more or less the same for everyone. This is why I say more or less the same. It's not the same because if you have a quality life, maybe then time passes differently. So we want to help people improve their quality of life so that they turn this aging process into a more graceful process. This is also a part of our audience, people who at some point in their life, at a certain threshold, maybe it could be they're 25 years old or they are 28, 30, 35. There are certain thresholds. You realize that something is changing. And you see people who maybe fall into like a depression, or they start feeling a bit low. They start to question life, you know. They are having an existential crisis. And most people, maybe they leave this crisis for a little and then they ignore it and they just move on. We don't want to move on. We want to continue with this existential crisis and turn it more into a dilemma from which we can also extract something good, like for our life. If you thought that the meaning and the purpose of life was getting that job, getting married, having children, and yet for some reason it's not working out for you, you didn't do all of those checks on the list, or maybe you did all of those checks on the list, but you still feel that there's something missing, there's this sort of emptiness inside of you. Time is passing by, no matter how many of these things you have or how much you achieve in life, this podcast could be for you. All of your life you could have been told by society, by your parents, by people around you that there are some things that matter, and you only know about those things, and maybe they do matter on a social level, let's say, but you are not really told about other things that could have meaning for you and that could also make your life meaningful. And I think this is what the podcast could bring in people's life. Information about new things that could matter and new pathways that you could go on and search for.
Thank you, Julia. And for the third point of the ChatGPT audience, we'll actually invite Michaela because
a good radio host.
yeah.
Why would you watch us? Because we're trying to present you a way of living, a balanced life, to gain your interest in philosophy and how to evolve your humanity. We, as yourself, try to understand life in a deeper way and try to explain what is the best we can do in the context we are.
So then we have on the 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, I'll give them brief and shortly. Intellectuals and lifelong learners. Those with a passion for learning and self-improvement would be attracted to the podcast's blend on philosophy, I'll have to check that out later on, psychology and practical advice on aging well. What's in it for us? Because intellectual people are always like...
Doing this podcast, you mean? What's in it for us?
Yeah, and there are always like, from my experience, like, what do they earn from this? What, especially entrepreneurs, how much money do they make for that podcast? That's their main
Of course, it would be great if we can gain some money, if we deserve it. But I think firstly it's an opportunity for us to grow, to learn to speak better English, well, to speak English, because we are not speaking English, we are speaking Romanian, which we translated into English, so I think it's a good start. And also to allow ourselves to express certain emotions, and of course to pass on to the world a different kind of information with a different quality, an information which is lacking out there. And of course, finally, if there are spiritual seekers like us, sort of philosophers like us, hopefully.
So on the question on what's in it for us is actually other people and us.
Other people and us, and the opportunity, like I said, to transmit and to pass on a different kind of information, a unique one. And of course, if it all works out, to gain some money, of course.
To another target audience called middle-aged to senior adults, which may be one of our target audience, individuals who are in their midlife or senior years looking for strategies to age gracefully and maintain a high quality of life. Basically, we kind of expected that, like old people
Of course.
trying to
Improve their quality.
to improve their quality of life, but it's I'm gonna be honest, sometimes it's a little bit too late. Like,
Of course.
you can
Also, if you don't have money because the body is failing you and you have to support on something material, so yeah, for sure you have to have money to.
yeah, on the physical the physical part degrades, but what goes
Technically,
down,
yes, of course.
something
The
else
intellectual part and humanity itself
something
needs
else
to be
will go up.
not necessarily, but that would be ideal, I think. Because there are people who are, I think most people who grow old and their body decays, but they lack the inner values and inner life. They are becoming more like children, like a child.
Child and robotic from a certain
You can see even our parents, they are more like mechanical and more automatic and more like infantile children.
and reactive, not active.
Yes,
Like
really passive.
So, this gets us to the last question. Why did we say how to get old in our title? And why did we not choose how not to get old as everybody else, just to try to respond to the general audience, as it is generally stated, as something general, like the main mass of people, because the main mass of people, their main interest is actually not to get old. Live young and wild and free forever and ever.
Sure. I think it's a more realistic approach because we are getting older each day, and it's an inevitable fact. We are getting older and eventually we are going to die. So as soon as you accept this, as soon you can find different ways on different levels on which you can do this, getting age in a gracefully manner. So I think when you see the end and see that things are going to end, you can really do something with your life that is real.
Do you think that anyone from the general audience actually asks himself the question, how can I get old?
I don't know them, but maybe we can find out. Maybe we'll target this kind of audience and we'll get back some feedbacks. So we'll receive some feedbacks.